Hey, this is Brendan from Comic-Con. This is our Halloween episode. I wish it was number 13, but I think we're on number 12. We've got two very special guests with us today. We've got Renae Geerlings. She's an actress, a singer, a writer, producer, comics editor, and she was Deputy Gwen in Halloween 2 with the Rob Zombie remakes. And with her today is also Tyler Mane. I know him as WCW's Big Sky. He teamed with Kevin Nash. He was also in Halloween. He played Sabretooth and X-Men. He was in Joe Dirt. But this is Michael Myers. We are having our Halloween episode with Michael Myers himself. How cool is that?
Yes, you are. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Are we doing good? This is great. This is surreal. It is. We did the interview a couple weeks ago, and I mentioned the show. And I think before I could even get an email off to our contact, you had already called her and said, "Hey, make sure this happens." And it's the coolest thing. Thank you so much for coming by.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
You're going to regret that, pal.
Uh-oh.
So our normal format is, we do a couple drinks. We talk about some of the theme, and the theme is going to be the Halloween franchise. Renae and Tyler, you both made drinks. Let's hear what you've got for us.
Yeah, well, okay.
I made the drinks.
She made the drinks, but
not loving it.
Well, I haven't tasted it yet. It is
Myers Blade.
A Myers Blade.
Dark and Stormy. It has Blade and Bow, so it's actually a Mule's Dark and Stormy hybrid. It has Blade and Blow, spicy ginger beer, Myers rum, a little squeeze of Myers lemon, and grenadine for blood on the bottom.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Oh, see, you were nervous about it, but it ended up being nice. Nice.
Yeah,
he complained all day that he wasn't sure about my drink, and I was like, "Well, you're stuck with it."
Well, like I was driving back, so I was like, here, it's not bad. Actually, it's pretty good, guys.
I think it sounds great. I mean, it sounds like my kind of drink.
It does, and the wordplay actually sounds like something Cullen would come up with because he loves puns and wordplays, and nice. And you had a.
Don't like that
at all. Doesn't like that.
What's yours?
I'm not. That's the thing I don't like about it. That's why when I read the recipe, I was like, puns.
Right. I usually take mine straight up, or
Listen, the assignment was Michael Myers themed drinks. I took it to heart.
You really
100%.
did.
I did.
She did.
Well, wait till you hear about the second drink because this one got me. The description of this. Just go ahead, Renae. Please.
It looks very much like Tyler's, and the ingredients are a little similar, but this is a Final Girl mimosa. Virgin, obviously. This one is spicy ginger beer. It has a little bit of lime juice and orange juice and grenadine.
Well, because to be the final girl, you have to be a virgin, right? That's a prerequisite.
You have to be a virgin. Yeah.
It's so delighttly clever, the title. I was talking to my wife earlier, so that's our first delightful. Watch them laugh every time I say it. But it really is. I was sitting on the couch talking to my wife earlier, and I was reading the recipes off, and she just she was doing something. I think she was editing, and I mentioned it, and I was reading the descriptions you sent over, and she started chuckling, and that doesn't normally happen. I'm not funny. She's the funny one.
Nice.
So good job. You won points with my wife on that one. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
See, that's why I have
around.
Yeah, you got to keep somebody like that in your corner for sure.
Yes, I do.
Nice. Okay, so Halloween streaming. I was trying to do a bunch of just try and refresh myself on all the memories. And there's actually out of the 13 films, there's only 6 of them that are streaming right now. But I found some interesting things about Tyler and the franchise. So there are 13 films.
Yeah.
Out of the 13, they've got 8 actors that have played Michael Myers. Of those 8, only 3 have done it more than once. And only 2 of those have done it in consecutive films, and Tyler is one of them.
Yep.
Yes.
And
I
James,
believe, we not counting the little Michael Myers in H2, I did all of the action, all of the stunts, everything.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Awesome.
So that's
Nice.
That's rare too, I think.
I need you to send me those numbers, Brendan, because
Oh yeah.
This week is our slasher trivia night coming up.
Oh, well then let me quiz you real quick then.
As you know, there's nothing more important to me than my Halloween trivia every year.
True.
It's why I did not go to New York Comic Con. Is because I would have missed Halloween trivia. So, so this week is slasher Halloween trivia.
All right, so let me quiz you on some of this.
I'm terrible.
Of those 8 actors, who are the 4 who have played Michael Myers more than once?
The only one that matters, as far as I'm concerned, is Tyler Hain.
There you go. You win.
Honestly, I probably couldn't tell you. I could tell you, even if this hadn't happened, I could have told you Tyler played Michael Myers more than once. But other than that, I don't know that I could tell you. And this is not to be, I'm not trying to blow smoke, because that's not.
Oh no, I didn't know this either until I looked it up, and I love the whole franchise. So
that Tyler is a very iconic Michael Myers to me. I think it's, you're what I wanted Michael Myers. When I was little and I first saw Michael Myers, that's how he appeared to me, was big and menacing. And he was a big guy, I guess, but he wasn't as big as you.
That's true, and he wasn't as aggressive as I was. I think that added quite a bit of dimension to it. Like the grunting and just the way that I would attack people was.
Oh, it was upsetting.
Way more physical than some of it.
Yeah.
On the rewatch, the scene with Danny Trejo.
Oh yeah,
it's the worst.
It really is. It's the worst, but it's the most like heart-wrenching too, because Danny Trejo is being so sincere and just the soulless, just merciless, just no, this is happening of the whole scene. It was brutal and it was beautiful, and like it made me want to drive down to LA and get some tacos at Danny Trejo's spot because I felt bad.
Would that have been a far drive for you, Brendan?
That's about 2 hours. I live in California. Did you know this? Yeah.
You live in California?
What?
These running jokes are going right over their heads, but trust me, it's a thing.
We also used to live in California.
Nice.
I don't think I could name any of the other. I mean, I could with some thought, although I've been making this drink all day long over and over, and it's not happening.
So the four that have been repeated are Nick Castle, George P. Wilbur, Tyler, and James Jude Courtney. Of those 4, the only 2 that have done it in consecutive films are Tyler and James Jude Courtney.
Yeah.
And Tyler's the only one that saved me from getting an F in college. So,
well,
that's the story. What's the story there?
Check this out. I was living with like 5 roommates, right? And one of the things that we super valued was having one of those TV plans pre-streaming. So we had the pay-per-view. It wasn't even Netflix. It was like you had to order movies. That's important.
And you had to be there to watch it at the start time, or you missed it.
Exactly, or you missed out on it. I was getting ready for class. It was one of my art exams. I was getting ready for it, and I was sitting down on the couch and tying on my shoes before I was about to head out the door. And the movie had just started, and I had not seen it previously because we didn't have a lot of money. We couldn't go to theater, so it was like one of those things. But it was on, and I hadn't gotten a chance to see it. And I sat there, and I was like, I won't be late. It's an hour drive to get to class, but it'll be fine. And I sat and watched the whole film, and it was so good, and I was so taken by it because I normally am not the kind of person who is into slashers. I like monsters, like big creatures and like very the ferocity and physicality of somebody. But there was such an intensity in the movie that it struck me in a way that I was like, I have never seen this kind of like human blankness and the ability to like just power through scenes. So I put it on again because I'm no longer thinking about, I really needed to be to class like a half an hour ago. So I watched it through the second time, then realized my mistake, got in my car, drove to class, found my professor, said, look, I know I missed class. It was an important class. I know I'm in, deep poo right now. I said, but I just watched the Halloween movie for the first time, and it was phenomenal. Let me tell you about it. And I just went into this description of how excited I was about this movie and how it was just so impactful. And he goes, that is the most insane thing I have ever heard in my life. No one would make that up. And I said, I'm not. This is literally what just happened to me. He said, okay, just make sure that, you come to the next one and we'll get it taken care of. Everything's good. And he totally let it be a wash. So I came home, I ordered it again on the pay-per-view. When my roommates came home, we watched it for a third time that day. All of them agreed. And that's how you saved me from failing a class in college.
Well, there you go. You're welcome.
That is some passion right there too.
It was, it was pretty awesome. God, because I like a werewolf. I like a swamp monster. Gill Man. I love Mothman. Mothman's fantastic. Did that for Cullen. But the physicality that you brought to that role, a guy with a knife is scary, but I lived in the city. A guy with a knife was the dude that lived next door. Not really something that I worried about too much, but there was such an imposing nature that was there. I loved that.
But the guy next door wasn't 6'7" with the knife, was he?
Yeah, absolutely true. He wasn't. He's a little wiry dude. He always wanted to borrow like random bits of stuff in our house. He was not huge by any means.
I think that there's something, and you love monsters, right? Tyler's favorite horror film is Jaws. And he said many times that he felt as he was bringing Michael to life that there was a real parallel there between those characters with the that sort of the black eyes, the just calm mask, the
one
unstoppable
direction.
one
it's a force of nature. I could totally see that kind of blending together. It's brilliant. I love it. It's one of my favorite portrayals in all of horror, and I mean, I'm the kind of guy that watches a horror movie every day for giggles. So
it's interesting because go ahead, Cullen.
I was going to say, I did get you channel Jaws because that was the first horror movie I ever saw. That was the first movie I ever saw in a theater was Jaws. And there's a great book that the first book in the series came out a couple of years ago called My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. And it's a slasher novel, but it's also sort of an examination of the slasher genre. And there's a huge section of it where they basically establish how Jaws is a slasher movie, not a monster movie. And it's really, I just had a huge argument with someone just last night about it. But it's really cool.
Wait, you got in a fight with somebody over like trivia, over like just minutia? You?
Yeah, me.
Go figure, huh?
I bet he won. That's the best part. I put money on it.
No one wins a fight.
Well, no, because people just give up because Cullen will not stop. He's relentless. And so after like 20 minutes or whatever, it gets old. So you're like, fine, you win. This guy is purple. It's cool.
and just in case anybody wants to know, don't try this at home. It's not getting better as I go along. Actually,
so here's what happened. The bar was so
worse.
Low at the beginning that he was thinking he was going to hate it, and it actually wasn't that bad. But now he's realizing maybe Grenadine.
It's not his favorite. Yeah.
It's
Blade and Bow and
downhill.
rum. Maybe
that's opposite because Cullen usually says that it gets better with every sip because the alcohol starts to kick in.
That's what my mom used to say. My dear old mom used to say, "It gets better with every sip."
I was hoping, but
if I give him two more of those, he'll love it.
Right.
Oh, I'm sure. It sounded like it was almost pure alcohol, so I have no doubt. Let's see. Let's do mine. I was going for the like milky white of the mask, and so I was going for like a dairy thing, coconut milk, and anyway, so Batida de Coco. I called it a Mike Myers. It's got 2 ounces coconut milk, some condensed milk in it, white rum, got some coconut water, and I was trying to do the blood thing on the inside of the glass, but it's really hard to do.
It is.
So I ended up abandoning that. I saw in Cullen's picture that he put it on the outside of the glass, and I'm like, well, I hate getting sticky, so. And then, so there's that, and it's mostly a coconut drink, but it's got some dairy in there too. The condensed milk makes it really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my kind of drink, but it is tasty. My wife loved it when I made her the little sample. And then I got one of these little jelly pumpkins and a doll knife.
You held that up briefly a while ago, and I was like,
"That's so good."
I was trying to recreate the movie poster. I think it's for 2, right? That's got the cider pumpkin, right? But I couldn't get the eyes to show. I carved up so many of these. I ate like 20 of these yesterday while I was carving it up, trying to make it look right. And the knife is a real knife, so you can't actually use this as a garnish because somebody's going to choke on it and then you get sued. But that is a metal knife.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you steal it off of an action figure or something or what?
No, you know what? Those guys that do it came
Stole it from Chucky?
Those guys that do the doll houses, they do little miniatures. These are also real knives.
Oh.
So it was a set, and it came with a stupid little cutting board too.
Nice.
So this was my garnish. This was my garnish for my drink. So it's tasty. It's good. We're gonna throw up the recipe card. My wife loved it. It's not a bad drink. It's just not my thing. So.
I just wrote down a title for a new comic I'm going to write called Tiny Slasher.
Cullen, you'll know this. Is
So I guess I can't be in it, huh?
You can't. Well, I mean,
So you'll be the victim.
I'll be the victim.
Well, blue
that
screen.
would be, the irony of it would be so. It would be chef's kiss. Yeah.
If Tyler was running through the streets wielding this, I believe he could still kill people. I think that would work.
Well, it would definitely. It would unsettle people.
He'd have to be so close that it would just be awkward. They'd be like, "What are you doing?" Oh.
So we've got 13 films. A lot of times when we do a franchise, we do worst to first. I think that would take too long with 5 of us and 13 movies. So let's just go for our top. What do you think? Top 3 or top 5 in the Halloween franchise? I think 3 would be good.
I feel unprepared.
Of course you do.
Go top 2. I got that.
Yeah, I can tell you that I think.
Okay, no, top 3. Top 3. I'll
top 3. Here we go.
Well, before we get to top 3, I just want to say, look, I've been watching these Halloween movies for a long damn time.
Yes,
right.
We know you're old. Yes. Okay.
I think there are only 2 in the franchise that are unwatchable.
Okay. 3 and
3.
You better take it back. 3 is
Incredible Witch is good.
an amazing movie.
Oh, Michael Myers isn't in 3.
But it's not from the franchise. Wait. Hold up. It is a movie. It is a great movie. It is a movie. I like the movie, but it is not a Halloween movie.
It's titled Halloween.
It's called Halloween.
You take Michael Myers out of it. How is it Halloween? How is it Halloween without Michael Myers? That's like making a Friday the 13th without Jason Voorhees.
That's like making this drink without putting grenadine for the blood in it. It's like it just doesn't happen, you know.
So I think 3 is actually very good. There are 2 I don't like.
Okay.
This is very uncomfortable for me. No,
Yes,
I'm just kidding.
Where did you say you lived again?
I don't believe we're gonna get Tyler back on another episode.
Do not like, and I can't. I do not like The Curse of Michael Myers. I think is a terrible movie, and I do not like Halloween Resurrection. Those 2 movies are unwatchable in my opinion. The rest, I like everything about them. I mean, even the ones I don't like the ones I don't like as much, I still like quite a bit.
Okay. Now I'm gonna argue with you on Halloween Resurrection. I'm gonna tell you why.
Oh, for God's sake.
Okay, so you've got my generation growing up in the 80s watching these films. You've got the generation now watching like the Tyler Mane, version with Rob Zombie and stuff like that, right? But you've got that generation that's in between, and you've got to bridge that gap. So when you bring in Busta Rhymes, and there were a couple other names in that film and stuff like that, it's like you're taking this
great thing in that.
It's Run DMC. It's Run DMC and Aerosmith. Aerosmith was floundering. Their careers were all but over. Run DMC comes out. They're like, "Can we work on this song with you?" And all of a sudden, everybody knows who Aerosmith is again, and they're still touring. So without Resurrection, I believe that there's a whole generation of horror films or horror fans that would have missed the franchise entirely.
You know what? I know.
Probably.
I know that you think I don't back down on arguments. Here's what I'm going to do. I have not watched Resurrection since it came out.
Okay.
I've got it on a shelf right here. I'm going to watch it tonight because you convinced me to give it a chance. I'm going to look at it through that lens. Now, I'd said the same thing about Curse of Michael Myers last year, and I realized when I was done with it, I was right about that movie the entire time.
Okay, but what's your drink and how many have you had before you're watching that movie? I didn't say that. But we gotta address the elephant in the room. A lot of people watching it and be like my age too. It is not like your typical Halloween movie. It's Rob started here. Well, here,
Halloween 2.
Halloween 2. Rob's age 2, and it took you deeper. You'd see the crossing intersections between Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, and you see how it affected Laurie Strode with her PTSD and how it affected Michael with what was going on in his head. I always hear, what's with the white horse, right? Well, it's because it was given to me by my mother, and that's how I related to my mother, and that's where the big horse came from. But also, the Weinsteins were interjecting and wanting to do rewrites and all the time, and
trailer shots,
and they were like, take take a certain part of this budget and do trailer shots, and you don't get to use that for your film.
Well,
and
you don't have to use it, was what they said.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm going to use it.
And then they were so they were giving them a lesser budget to do, and they kept cutting time, so we were losing days, and so that's where all that came from. The glass coffin, all of that stuff was to be trailer shots, but Rob's like, I've got to figure out how to incorporate it and put this into the movie. All the pumpkin heads around the table and all of that, that all came from that, you know? So
honestly, there should be a documentary done about the making of that film, because Rob was a Superman for finishing that film. And I will stand by that to my dying day. They took money out of the budget. They took weeks off of his shooting schedule. He was stuck. The ship was already sailing. So he was shooting all day and then going home and having to rewrite and figure out how he was going to make all this work. And I mean, the guy pulled off a miracle with that film.
He would he would come into my trailer at the end of the day shooting, and he'd be like, "Oh, I don't know what the fuck we're shooting tomorrow. You know, I don't know if I can swear on here, but
you're allowed to swear. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay,
you can swear."
He'd be like, "I don't know what the fuck we're shooting tomorrow," but and then he'd just leave my trailer. I'm like, "Oh, this is going swimmingly." Yeah. But he'd come back with pages, you know.
Yeah.
And he'd come back with pages, and they'd be amazing, and it'd be like, okay, he's like, okay, how do you want to kill somebody today? We got to do that, you know. It was that they were messing with it that much, you know. So if we would have been able to do the original script, it would have been amazing. Yeah. So anyhow, I just wanted to address that elephant in the room, because I know a lot of fans diss on it, but there you go.
You give people long enough, they're going to find stuff to pick apart. I mean, that's just the way it is. Like, you can take
you don't
any
even
film.
need to give them a long time.
No.
You just like say, I have a question for you, and they're like, I have a negative answer.
Yeah. The neat thing about that movie is it's completely different. I mean, it really tried to do something different than the other movies in all the other Halloween movies. Now, Halloween Ends did the same. They tried to do something different as well, but both of those movies do very different things. I prefer the director's cut of Halloween of H2. I think I like the director's cut quite a bit of H2, and I had to search for it to get it on DVD.
Well, I was just about to say, when Renae was talking, I'm surprised that Rob didn't do that as part of his commentary, because he does, with those DVD sets and stuff, he does amazing commentary and little vignettes and things for the extras. I'm kind of shocked that there's not a little mini documentary or a full documentary on the making of the film.
Well, when he was done, you know.
I think they really tired him out on that one.
Well, I feel like there was a lot of sort of hate. Look, I write comic books, so I'm fine with, I get the hate, right? But I feel like there was hate from the get-go, from the first one he did, because he dug into Michael as a kid and things like that.
There was a lot of character work that wasn't in the previous films.
What was actually kind of interesting and set it apart from anything else that had been done with it, which was ridiculous. So,
and that's the reason why I signed on to it. It was because he was showing the backstory of how he became a product of his environment and made him more than a one-dimensional character.
Yeah,
which I really loved about it, and that's why I signed on. And
that's the thing that appealed to me most about the movie. Like, as a younger man, I was very mouthy and would argue at the drop of a hat. You know, I had to be right in the room. I was that guy, and you know, we would fight about horror all the time. And I've seen a lot of horror movies that that have come along to either an homage or a revamp or whatever of a classic. And they do these backstories, and you realize that, like, your apex vampire predator is a tragic hero. And then that, to me, weakens the character in a lot of ways. It doesn't matter how amazing the actor is. I feel like it takes the bite out of it. No pun intended. I know Cullen hates that. But I felt like seeing that backstory just added such a level of, like, ferocity.
It doesn't always work. It doesn't always work, but it does here.
It really worked in this. And I think that's really what pulled me in and I was like, this is captivating because you don't get that weird like, oh, he was hit or oh, this happened. You know, it wasn't a tragedy. It was just
right. You get the humanity of it. You get why, and you understand why it's happening.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that he started as a weird kid because I just watched the film yesterday. He started as a weird kid. He had some issues, but then his environment didn't foster like the good side of his nature. It fostered the weirdness. It fostered the sociopathy. It fostered the pain and the, you know, so there is, you know, part of that nature element, but also part of the nurture element, and you see how it comes together.
And then he ends up in the institution and finding out that his mother has killed her. Yeah, I mean, there's
And anybody who's
so
in a medical
Anton,
situation,
we haven't seen Anton's drink yet, so let's go ahead and see
my
what
drink
Anton's
is
made
super
for us
pretty.
today.
So it has got, as you can see, the cold foam that was made kind of looks like the ragged mask.
Yeah.
It floats there and it stays suspended. So this is my Loomis libation. It has the local blood orange moonshine in it. It's got 2 shots of that. And it is that's poured over ice, and then it's topped with orange soda. And then this is black icing right here around the outside. That's why it's able to stay in sort of that suspension. And then this is a hand-mixed vanilla bean cold foam. And then there is an orange that's in here that was actually dredged in sour popping candy, but it sank. I thought it was going to float as like a garnish, but it sank down. And it is quite delicious. It tastes like a creamsicle. It's very good.
I was going to say that's a creamsicle. Yeah.
That is so gourmet. I feel like I'm on some British baking show right now.
My wife is awesome. She's the coolest person I know. I could talk about her for hours and hours on end. And I would if people didn't shut me up. She makes the drinks for me most of the time. That's why they're so pretty and taste so good.
Smart.
It's true.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, that icing looks so well done. I actually thought it was a cap on top of.
No. She just she's good like that. She makes it. She does the cakes and the macarons and all that cool stuff. She's amazing. She put 40
now
pounds
I want to know where you live.
I will talk after the show. You can come over. I'm sure she'll make dinner.
I don't think actually you guys aren't too far. I know where both of you guys are. You're not too far from each other. That's doable.
There you go.
Nice. Okay, so we didn't do our top 3.
Yeah, let's do top 3. Sorry, I interrupted.
Okay.
And I apologize.
The original has got to be my number 1. It's got to be. And then they did so much weird mythology going off and weird shoots and things like that. I think Halloween 2018 brought it back to basics and kind of was just like, you know, sociopath with knife kills. I mean, and it needed that because they were doing so many weird things. And then we already talked about Halloween Resurrection. I feel like we needed that bridge between the classic and the new. We needed to bring in that generation. Tyra Banks is in that one too. That's the name I couldn't think of earlier. But Tyra Banks, Busta Rhymes, and it's just like without that kind of like pop culture inclusion in that film, I think that this franchise would have had a harder time making it to the point where it's in now, where Tyler's doing these amazing films and with Rob Zombie and the cast and the things that they were able to do. I just don't think it happens without that bridge.
I just don't get you, man. I don't get you with that one.
I love you.
I love you still. I'm gonna rewatch it, but man, I just can't envision it.
All right. Well, while you two argue, my favorite is the first Rob Zombie Halloween movie. It is it blows the rest of them out of the water, in my opinion. People can argue with me. I don't care. I like the original, probably. That's my second favorite. And then I think it's like 2018 Halloween. I'm also a pretty big fan of when that one came out. I think Laurie's like there's nothing to learn anymore. Like that sort of nihilistic approach to things, I think was one of my favorite things in that. And it feels like a hopelessness that turns into survival. And I really like the way that sort of tones through the entire movie. So I think those are probably my top 3 for sure.
Now, if we had done top 4, because I suggested top 3 or top 5, if we had done top 4, the first Rob Zombie Halloween film would have come in as number 4 for me.
Oh, sure.
I had 5 lined up, but
no, you lost your brownie points. Forget it.
Speaking of brownies, my wife makes these amazing brownies. Right, they're super good.
Are they funny
they're
brownies?
like a double chocolate, and then the edges get all crispy. They're the best.
So wait a minute, how close is he?
We'll talk after.
Myers mom in there, and then we can have them for Halloween.
It's we're carving pumpkins next weekend. I'm just saying, guys.
There you go.
We're making plans.
You would never shut up. If Tyler Mane came to your house and carved pumpkins, you would just, that would be your calling card from, that would go on your business cards.
I might walk. I'm in a wheelchair. That's why it's a funny joke. That would be, that'd be life changing. It'd be amazing. Anyways, we won't even think about that. I'm gonna smile too big. But yeah, so those are good. Do we get Cullen's drink yet?
We have not gotten Cullen's drink yet.
You want me to talk about my drink?
Yeah,
Let's hear it. What do you got?
So I made a drink. It's not as pretty as it used to be. At one time it was very layered, but it sat here for a little bit. It's a very simple drink. It's amaretto. Oh wait, no. It's a little bit of Luxardo cherry juice because I know you like that, Brendan.
Of course, with the Luxardos, yes. Go ahead.
And then amaretto, dark rum. Then I put a bunch of bitters in it, and then I float orange soda over it. And at one time it looked like a sunset because the ice orb looked like the sun, and it looked very cool. And I call it the night he came home, but he called an Uber.
This man says he doesn't do wordplay.
Oh, it's clever.
I think that could be something that they serve in bars.
Yep.
The thing is, it tastes like a spicy rum and coke almost. It's got like this little bit of spice. It's really delicious. It goes down a little too easy. I also shanked a fool while I was making it to make sure I really felt Halloween.
It looked like you were about to shank yourself in the eye when you were trying to take that first sip.
Well, I did because I didn't take this out. But yeah, it's pretty good. And it gets better with every sip.
There you go. Well, you'll have to call that the night they came home. Like if you're selling that the night he came home, if you're selling that in a bar, you're going to need to take an Uber home.
Right.
Tyler Mane approved. You can put that on the menu.
And my top 3 movies, just so you know, in the franchise. If we're taking,
did we ask?
If we're taking, you did. You added, that was the whole point of this segment.
Oh yes. Go ahead.
If we're taking Halloween 3 out of the equation,
yes, and we must.
We're assuming Michael Myers heavy movies. And this isn't my top 3, but I will say the one that scared me the worst is Halloween 2, the original. Because I remember walking into my parents' room and they were watching Halloween 2 on HBO or Cinemax or whatever it was. And it was this scene where Michael Myers comes up behind the nurse and stabs her and lifts her up off the floor and her feet are twitching. Terrified me. And that was that was my actual first exposure to seeing Michael Myers on screen.
It was so effortless too. Like he just did it with one hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the one that scared me the worst. The original is going to be my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Zombie's first Halloween is my second favorite because I just like Rob Zombie's filmmaking in general. I remember right before the movie came out, I went to see him in concert for the first time, and there was a whole Halloween game. I mean, he really Halloweened it up for that concert, and it was one of the best concerts I've ever been to.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you want some trivia here too, Cullen?
Yeah, of course.
What other Rob Zombie film was Tyler in?
Oh shit! Hold on.
I know.
Oh, somebody's Googling it.
I'm not Googling anything. I'm thinking it through. I'm trying to think of.
Well, I'll give you hints. Give you a hint. He was not the original actor for this role.
Tyler, were you in like one of the Devil's Rejects movies?
That's the one. He was in Devil's Reject as Otis.
Well, I was trying to think.
No, I was Rufus.
Yeah.
Oh, Rufus. My fault. Rufus. Yeah.
Guy was, but I know you weren't the big guy in the first one. So, right. So you were Rufus in the second one. All right. Well, I love all those movies. I really do.
And that's how I got the Halloween gig.
Nice. I did not know that. So
yeah, I originally auditioned for the role that Dallas Page got, and Rob
was in that
for this other role, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I didn't get it. And then just before shooting, I get a call that I'm going to be Rufus.
That's really
and I'm like, okay. So I was on there 4 days, filmed it. I was like, okay, this is cool. That was a great experience. Phone rings a couple years later, and Rob's like, hey, I got this movie. If you don't do it, I'm not doing it.
Oh, wow.
I go, what is
that's
He goes, "It's Halloween. I want you to be Michael Myers."
He did a night show. I forget who he was on. It was like a Letterman or something, and they were like, "Oh, so did you know
Kimmel or
Jimmy
something?"
Kimmel?
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, so did you know who you wanted to play Michael in advance?" And he was like, "Yeah." And what did they were like, "Oh, did you talk to him about it?" He was like, "No, he would have asked for more money or something." He says it was something really funny, and Tyler was like, "What?"
True, it's so true.
And my third favorite controversial option here, I like the return of Michael Myers, which introduced Danielle Harris into the franchise.
Oh,
that was that's 5.
4.
Wait, 4 is what I'm talking about. 4 is it's 4's return, right?
Oh, right.
4 is
right.
return.
Yeah. I might get the names wrong, but 4 is probably my third favorite. Yeah. So and I just dug that move. Everything about, again, 4 is a very Halloween. I mean, it feels like Halloween, and sometimes sometimes some of them you can almost forget that it's Halloween. 4, I can't forget it's Halloween.
Yeah, like interchangeable, right? Like you could put any monster in there, and you're like, eh.
Well, you forget the time of year sometimes. You know, it's.
Oh, you were saying that it's not. It doesn't feel like it's not part of the franchise. It doesn't feel like the season. Okay, so the colors changing and the leaves and things. Yeah. Okay, I could see that too.
4 feels very Halloween to me. But anyway, there's
what I thought was interesting too about there was something they were doing in the 80s. They did it with the Karate Kid 2, where it's like Karate Kid 1 ended, and then Karate Kid 2 picked up right in the parking lot where the first one left off. Halloween 1 and 2 do that, right? With the 78 and what is it, 79 or 81, where like immediately following the end of Halloween 1 is the start of Halloween 2.
Yeah, it happens that night.
Oh, cool.
So well, Tyler, you said we know your top 2, but you said you have a third one as your third favorite. What's your
Oh, the OG. The OG. There's got to be.
I think people forget what a seminal film that was. You know, like I think it's been so long that people forget that there were so many firsts in that film, like that the steady cam around the house, the Myers vision at the beginning, like nobody did that. And it's been so repeated over the years, and you know that I think people forget who did it originally.
The CSI shot that goes down through the skin, through the visceral layers, down through the bone and stuff like that was based off of some of the techniques that they used in Halloween. And the movement inspired Mark Calloway as the Undertaker did the pop-up that Michael Myers did in the first one, right? Where he's laying down and he did the pop-up. And then Kane started doing that. And then you see a bunch of other wrestlers doing the playing dead and then kipping up and stuff. Just in pop culture, the film has inspired so many people to do so many different things. It's amazing.
You know what's neat about Michael Myers?
He's dead.
He never plays for a joke. Of all the slashers, Michael Myers never went for the joke. All the other slashers, I mean, Freddy was scary as hell when he first pops on the screen, right? And then then he becomes a comedian. Even Jason, who has arguably no personality, starts cracking jokes in Friday. I mean, he's lifting his mask up and scaring the punks, and he's doing jokey stuff. Michael never does any jokey stuff. He's always
in Halloween Ends. Yeah, spoilers, everyone. The movie's been out for a couple of years now, but in Halloween Ends, doesn't he kind of like look down at the wood chipper and then look? There was something though where he did kind of a spit take kind of moment.
But situational awareness, I wouldn't necessarily see. I know the scene you're talking about. I don't think that was a joke. It didn't come off joking to me. It was more like, I'm not going to be pulled into this kind of trap,
The closest I feel like Michael comes to a joke is when he's stabbing the one dude in one of those Halloween, but he just keeps stabbing him with different things. Like, it's just trying to see what works best. But even then, I mean, I don't know how much I laugh at joking, but I guess you do, Brendan. I don't laugh at stabbing, but you.
How many horror films have you watched? You don't find humor in them?
I think horror movies and humor are very closely related. But one of the things I do not like ever is when the monster is played for a joke. I don't like it. Humor can come from the person anytime. I'm okay with that. But I don't want the humor to come from the monster. Abbott and Costello meets
Wait, hold on.
Wait. Abbott and Costello.
Tyler did a joke. Hang on. No. I'm thinking back on the films. Tyler did a joke when he first came into the room, and he had the sheet over him, and she's like, "Where's my beer?" or whatever. And he throws the beer at her. That's a joke. Come on.
I don't find any of that funny. I find that very
beer. No joke.
And that
We're very serious about our alcohol, Brendan. I don't know if I agree with that one.
Michael's always put.
We are on a drinking show, guys.
This is true. This is
And
true.
to
And
be
we're a couple
the
drinks.
final
Well, I'm a
girl,
couple
you
drinks
have to
in now.
not drink, and you have to be a virgin. So,
Nice. All right. So Renae, we haven't heard your top 3 yet. I have a suspicion for number 1.
well, I mean, of them, my favorite is Halloween 2. I'm probably, that it was such a great experience for me. And I think any time that you work on I guess not any time, I'm sure there are people who don't feel this way, but when you know everything that went on to get this movie made, I think you have such an affinity for it. It's, it's like family.
Pride of ownership.
Yeah. And just, yeah, it's, my heart is really in that one. So I understand when people are critical of it. I get it. I also have worked in comic books for 27 years. So I get the critical nature of fandom, but I love that one. And then of course, obviously his first one is my second favorite, but the first one is also my favorite, just for what it did for the genre. I mean, it was a stepping stone for everything else that came after it. And so watching it is, it's like watching the whole thing, the genesis of where most of them came from.
It's hard not to respect that one as, like, if it's not in your top 3, there might be a problem.
Get out of here. I watched a lot of Halloween before I watched Tyler's. I'm just saying, like,
Yep.
It is definitely my top 5. But those other 3, like, were like formative. They were like impactful on my like growing up. I mean, you can't, for the same reason you work on a film and you want to, you have that pride of ownership or what it, like the first one that you saw is obviously going to be the one that you judge everything else against, right? Like that's the one that you hold on to.
Yeah, thank goodness it wasn't Resurrection for me.
You're too old for that to have been your first one, Cullen. Resurrection came out in what was that? 2000.
How dare you? First of all,
Was it the 2000? Yeah, I guess it had to be, because
it was like 2002. I'm looking it up right now.
Right before Katie Sackhoff got on Babylon 5, right?
Yeah,
like a couple years before she started Babylon 5.
It was 2002. It came out.
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. 2002
it came out. So it's a 21-year-old film now.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts.
They're all good. They're all.
Oh, that hurts.
Well, I also I love the story of the first Halloween. They couldn't sell the original movie until Carpenter put his own score to it, which I think that score is
brilliant.
Yeah.
We talk about the movie being, it set so many standards and set so many expectations for a slasher genre, but that score did the same thing. I mean,
and it's so simple too. It's like 5 notes and then just like these massive chords come in behind it. And every time you hear it, you feel it. It's so visceral and just like emotional. Like,
yeah.
I think there's only one other score that matches that even comes close to it, and that's Jaws.
Exorcist.
No,
Jaws is 3 notes.
Yeah, it's the simplicity and just the innate kind of terror behind it. It's fascinating psychologically.
It's fair, yeah.
That's a really good pull.
Yeah. I was just in Smith Grove with doing an event, and that's where all that music came from. John Carpenter's dad was the music professor, I believe, at the college there, and that's where he was, and that's where Smith Grove is. That's where the Scottsville Road, all those things in that very first one are kind of from there, from the Bowling Green, Kentucky.
I think we've been given our 5-minute warning here from producer Eric. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here. This was fun. This was really fun. Maybe we could do another episode at some other time and take on some other franchise that we're not all like personally invested in, because now I feel bad that my top 3 don't include here's my guess. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I'm not talking to you ever again. So forget about it.
You and me, though, we'll still talk, right? It'll be a thing. We're good. We're tight.
Yeah,
we're hanging out.
Good.
I want to revise my list. So number one is Halloween Rob Zombie with Tyler Mane. Number 2 is Resurrection.
That guy with that coconut drink, he can just
fine.
I like that I like that the two of you have come to realize what Anton and I have known for a long time about this.
Well, you know,
wow.
it just
I
took
feel
one
that-
show.
Yeah. That's all it took for me too.
That is rough. That is rough. All right. So I'm Brennan Allen. That's Cullen Bunn, Anton Kromoff. Our guests today were Renae Geerling and Tyler Main. Thank you guys so very much for coming out. Tyler, actually, let me mention this before we go. Tyler's got a Kickstarter right now, The Last Spartan. And
Yes.
I think there's like 3, but you funded in like one day. So you're not worried about funding. But at this point, if people want to get in on that first floor, they've got what, 2-3 weeks left to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we use this, we set our bar low for the funding. I mean, if you look at it with all the top tier people we're bringing to the table, we've still got a little ways to go, but the book was funded from the beginning. So this is just like our storefront. So we would appreciate anybody that would love to pick up a copy.
Yep.
I would greatly appreciate it because, you know,
Written by Christopher Priest.
There we go.
With art by Will Conrad. There are 3 chapters in the graphic novel. So Will Conrad, Jimbo Salgado, and Michael Montanot. And then we're doing a script book, which we don't talk about a ton, but it's actually the original script from Christopher Priest. So if you want to read the script and see how it translated into a book.
I tell you, I mean,
and
also
also
that people realize that's a hell of a creative team on that book.
Yeah,
I mean, Christopher Priest is awesome. I love Will Conrad in general.
Yep.
That is an amazing creative team on the book. So
yeah.
Yep.
And then also our cover is by
Mark.
Renee's first boss in the comic business,
Mark Silvestri.
And also,
wow.
I mean, you never heard of that guy. So,
Yeah. And if you haven't read his Batman and Joker Deadly Duo, wow.
Yeah.
I definitely fanned out over that one and love looking at it on a huge screen because you can zoom in on all the detail because wow. But yes.
Nice.
Well,
All right. So it's on
red tape.
It's on Kickstarter right now. By the time this goes up, there'll be 3 weeks left on it. It's already funded. It's more than funded. So the books are definitely going to go out. It's called The Last Spartan Red Tape, and we will throw the link in the show notes. Thank you all very much. This has been fun. Let's do it again sometime.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.